Thank you for coming by Tori Magoo 44. Today's the 18th of June. It's Father's Day weekend. To every father out there, happy Father's Day. Fathers are very cool in my book. They weren't always. When I was a teenager, my dad was pretty strict, and I was sort of like Flashdance. My dad wasn't a minister, but he was pretty strict, and I was pretty wild. So it took me a while to get how cool he was. Unfortunately, my father passed away when I was, I think, 22. He was 51 years old. He was a broadcaster for NBC in the 60s. He went in to have a checkup. They said, "You're totally healthy." He went home and walked in the door and had a heart attack and died. So this is just a little bit of an honor to my father. I'm going to show you who he is. In my book, he was my dad. He was a very cool guy, but I never knew how cool he was, unfortunately, and this happens a lot until he passed away. My mother made this scrapbook for each one of us kids with all the articles and letters. I mean, people had written us just tons and tons and tons of wonderful letters about my father. He had touched so many people's hearts. I had no idea. I mean, I knew he was a cool guy, but he was my dad, you know what I mean? And that's basically who he was. I knew he was a football star. He started out, he was at the University of Missouri, and I'll show you, I'm going to show you some of the different photographs of him. First of all, here he is in the Navy. There he is there. He's kind of a cool cat in that, and here he is all dressed up in the Navy. Mr. Cool. All right, so then here he is with my mom. This is when Paul meets his match, and that was my mom. She was the college queen, and he was the first All-American for the University of Missouri. So this is the University of Missouri. This is their little article about my dad, Chrisman. I think I've got the whole thing. Yeah, there we go. Looks like Paul Chrisman dies victim of heart attack. Sad. So here he is in his Missouri. This was the old Leatherhead before the NFL he played. See, he's got there he is, quarterback. And he's a great story on never give up. You know, he wanted to play baseball, and he went to 8 different teams. They all said, "Forget it, you're never going to make it." And he said, "All right, screw it." He went to football, and he's known as Pitching Paul Chrisman. There he is kicking there. When I left Scientology, some of the critics cruised around and found that he had football cards. This is Pitching Paul Chrisman, number 44. You see, I'm Magoo 44. That's in honor of my dad. When I woke up from the Church of Scientology, it was very scary, and I have always felt like my dad was with me in one sense or another, even though he passed away. I do believe that if someone passes away, if you love them, they're in your heart if you let them. And this is the back of his card. There you go, Paul Chrisman. So that's nifty. And they also found another one, which is, believe it or not, he broadcast the first Super Bowl. There you go, Super Bowl I. And it was in January 15th, 1967, before most of you were born, the Packers 35, Chiefs 10. And it was with Kurt Gowdy, and Paul Chrisman was the color man for it. He was the, color broadcaster. So there you go on that. Then here's the Chicago Tribune. Paul Chrisman dies. There you go on that. And then he just had, my mom made this thing with all these nifty articles about my dad. There he is there. Chrisman smiling even in the huddle. So I learned a lot about him, from various different people after he passed away. Here's another article about him as a broadcaster. Here he is, the voice of reason. Some of these articles are just fabulous about him. Here he is. This is my dad. This is him, Mr. Magoo. See? That's my nickname for him. Not theirs, but mine. But anyway, there you go. This is one of my favorite pictures of him. It's with him and his oldest son, my oldest brother, their first son, my mom and my dad. Really cute. And this is in honor of my dad. I have this up in my house. There you go. Kind of in honor of him. And it's one of the quotes he has. The last thing I always tell people is whatever you do, give it 100%. If you don't quite make it then, put in 1 more %. You won't have any trouble then. Paul Chrisman, October 31st, 1969, in a speech before the Executives Club of Chicago. There you go. That's my dad. I know he was a celebrity for football, But you know what? Every dad in my book is a celebrity because they just are. And make sure that you let your dad know. Call him up. Make sure, I've got my little sign for love, but it's true. This is a great weekend to spread some love. And, tell him that you love him. It's important. Right before my dad died, I was the only person who'd written my father saying how much I loved him, thanking him for everything he'd done, and how sorry I was for being such a knucklehead as a teenager. And then he died. So I always tell people that. Always tell people how you feel, because you never know how long they're going to be with you. And hopefully it'll be a long time. Hopefully you have a fantastic weekend. If you're a dad, I hope you're very, very loved and you're very, very proud of all that you've done. And if you want to be a dad, that's a good thing too. So there you go. And I love you. Have a good weekend.